Good morning, and good morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode, God's Vegas Strategy Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host, Corwin J. Millette, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to the show, you know it. You know what our mission is. That is to legacy build. That is what we do. But we're going to have a fabulous time in the process. So, guys, today's episode is no different. All right, no different. We have went, quote unquote, we've been climbing the mountain here, and I'm very, very pleased to announce that on the way to the top, we have with us today JON STROUD with the Stroud Group of the Boulevard Company. John, how are you doing today?
Corwin, I'm excited to be a part of this. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. I'm doing great.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, John, look, for our listeners, introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about you, and let's have a real conversation today. So go right ahead.
Absolutely. So, Corwin, I know Corwin from the real estate world. I've been a realtor in the Charleston area for over 18 years now. I am first and foremost a man of God like Corwin. Also, I've been married for 31, almost 32 years. This December will be 32 years. God said, go forth, multiply, and make fruit. And so we have Hannah the banana. Now, Hannah, my 29-year-old, and Abby, we used to call her Abby the apple. But anyway, no, we've got two girls. The youngest is 23. So we have two dogs. Yeah, we're just enjoying life. And I've really enjoyed serving with Corwin, getting to know him. So this is quite an honor.
Look, man, I'm over here cracking up, man. Hannah the banana, look here, somewhere or another, when she listens to this, she is cringing that you put that out for the world to know.
Oh, no, they know I'm a dad joke. I'm all about the dad jokes, man. So they know. All she'll do is just kind of hang her head and go like that. That's all she'll do. But no, Hannah's 29. She's a pharmacist here in the Charleston area. And my youngest, we're so proud, she just started today, as a matter of fact. It's her first day at CSU getting her master's in clinical therapy. My joke is that they have seen me in real estate. You remember 06, 07, And so I wanted them to go in real estate with me one day. And both of them said, no, Dad, we know what you're going to need. So one of them went and got her so she can give me the medication. And then the other one's going to give me the psychology when I need it. Talk me off the ledge.
I'm sorry. I'm cracking up.
Yeah,
because
my wife also will shake her head when she sees this. So trust me. But now we have a good time. We're enjoying our best life. Recently, my wife and I, we've had a cabin up in the mountains for the longest time, and we bought a boat, and we're living on the boat on weekends, and so we're having a great time, loving it. Real estate's been such a blessing to me. It's allowed me to be able to do some things that I probably would have never been able to do before. So I'm sure we'll get into chatting about that. But yeah, that's me. Oh, and the most important thing, we have two fur babies. We have two small dogs, Chewini, which is a Chihuahua Dachshund, and then we have a Chihuahua Min Pin mix. So they're also the love of my life. And yeah, so as I like to tell people, I'm just trying to be the guy that my dogs think I am. So that's a tall order. Anyway, I'll shut up. You ask the questions.
No worries, man. Thank you so much. So, John, look, you are, in a word, solid. Okay. If there had to be a word to describe that, a single word to describe you, I would say solid. You are a man of faith. You are stable. The word talks about and teaches us about those who are unstable. And you are a man that is stable. You are rooted in your faith, in your belief. And if you're unsure about something, one thing I know about you is that you're going to spend some time with God on it. You're going to do some research. You're going to spend some time with God on it, and you're going to get to your position on it. Whatever that is, that's where you're going to remain, because that's what God has ordained and stamped and said that's where you're supposed to be. So everything that you've done that I know of has been around that. So this year, you're serving in real estate association leadership. So if you don't mind, for our listeners, Tell us your position this year.
I am blessed to serve as the Charleston Trident Association of Realtors president of the board. So we have a board of directors. Yeah, it's been amazing. Been serving at CTAR for, gosh, at least 15 of my 18 years. Started on orientation committee and just have grown, but it's been an incredible blessing. And matter of fact, I get to tell people that I get to hang out with you a lot because I see you serving as well. And you're state level now. So that's the next step. And thank you very much. I'm so honored. I just want to say I'm honored that you said solid, man. I sometimes to a fault that I get that like a dog with a bone. I just go. But yeah, you're right. If I don't know something, I'm either going to go and research and get in prayer, but also find good people like you, my trusted people, advisors, those that I consider to be very wise, and say, hey, I'm struggling with this issue. What are your thoughts? And so I've always surrounded myself with people that lift me versus hanging out with the crowd that takes me down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what it's supposed to be. God will put people in your life, man, for that purpose. And
Amen.
sometimes we embrace them. Sometimes we reject because we don't understand the reasoning and the purpose behind it all. But let me take you to this. So the association, the work
Yeah.
that people, the general consumer does not understand why there is a real estate association. And then a lot of the membership, to be very frank about it, probably have the same thoughts. So if you don't mind, just from your point of view, why is a real estate association not only necessary, but what does it do?
Wow. That is such a huge question. I think I would sum that up by saying we talk about all the time what is the value that we bring? Because if there's no value, why would somebody pay and work to become a realtor? But when you go through orientation at our board and probably at any realtor board, you become more than just a real estate agent because anybody can get a license, right? But then to become what's called a realtor, somebody who has a higher standard, they have a higher ethical standard is a better way of saying that. But we bring a lot of programs. There's education, there's service, there's projects that we can do through RPAC, which is the Political Action Committee, getting involved, getting realtors involved in that roof where we are all the time looking how can we help with affordable housing and affordable housing initiatives in the Charleston metro area. So it's a collective body of people like-minded who are trying to help both the members of the real estate community and also property rights within our community. Great example, when one of our towns didn't like a project that was being proposed or that they were trying to do, and they tried to use eminent domain to stop the project. Well, that's not what eminent domain is for. So we have an incredible legislative committee led by a government affairs director, and we all got involved. And realtors showed up at that town hall meeting, and we weren't ugly. We just stood up and said, "Hey, this is not what eminent domain is. You're taking away somebody's property rights, and we're not going to stand for that." So we add a lot of value to our members. MLS is a huge part of that as well. So yeah, and then multiple listing service for those who don't know what MLS stands for. So anytime someone lists a home and they put it in the MLS, then the big websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, they glean that information from our local MLS. So all of that adds a lot of value. I got to tell you, in Corwin, you know this as well because you've worked with our staff at CTAR. When I travel to these conventions, I was in San Diego and I was sitting with a group of other presidents of boards, and they were complaining and moaning about not being able to get stuff done because their staff. I just sat back eerily quiet because our staff is bar none amazing. They call you back, they get things done. It's just a fantastic group of people. So it's fun to serve with them as well. So
Look, you just said something I told, and that was a mantra of mine when I first got into leadership and was attending meetings and stuff at the national
yeah,
stage. I'm like, look, I'll put Charleston staff up against any MLS, or excuse me, any
amen.
MLS or any association in the entire country, hands down. And even in our state association, the same. I will put them up against any other in the entire country because they deliver at a level, in my opinion, that is far exceeds expectations
I totally agree.
that others, it's incredible. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's bring this back around. You touched on something that I definitely wanted to make sure that we spoke about on this show, which is from the association standpoint, affordable housing. That's
yeah,
thing of mine. But outside of me, from a larger group effort, that is something that our
yeah.
local association, state as well as national association have been focused on. So
Yes,
if you
sir.
don't mind, give your interpretation of what you believe that to be and the impact that realtors can have on affordable housing in the community.
Wow, that's again, you asking the big questions. It is really difficult because I can see it from a developer's perspective just as easy as I can see it from a person's perspective who's saying, "Gosh, homes are so expensive, I can't afford to buy one."
Mhm,
Developer buys a piece of land and he or she looks at that and says, "How can I maximize my profits?" And there's
mhm,
nothing wrong with that, as we live in a capitalistic society. And from that standpoint, it's easy too to say, how can we get the government to get involved and do grants and all that kind of stuff? It has to be some sort of an initiative, or as I like to say, the WIFM for which is the what's in it for me for these
mhm,
developers to see the value in helping. Because one of the struggles, for instance, the Mount Pleasant area has is finding people to work in jobs that might be a little bit more entry level or not that like the high executive type positions, because
mhm,
a lot of the folks that work in those don't live in Mount Pleasant. They can't afford to live in Mount Pleasant. And
mhm,
so the idea being, how can we create that so that a lot of local businesses can help start people in their job tracks and help them grow to those levels where then they can afford to be in those areas. Does that make sense?
it makes
I
perfect.
think it's what's really cool is CTAR really put their money where their mouth is, because they paid quite a sizable amount of money to do a study as to what can local realtors, municipalities, governments, everything, what can we do to change the trajectory of affordable housing? Because as you know, the secret got out and everybody said, wow, Charleston is a great place to live. And when
Mhm,
more people are coming in than we have homes, what happens? The prices of homes go up because the
mm.
demand is higher than the supply. And that's just, simple economics. I think it has to do with we need to figure out those ways where people can come together to buy land at a better price, have incentives to sell, whether it be tax breaks, where they get deals on other land, first right of refusal on other parcels, whatever it is, so that developers have some value in it, and then the cities and towns get involved, because typically it does take some government involvement to figure out ways to help people get in, whether that be through grants of down payment assistance, better loan rates. Because right now, if you're looking at a rate that's 5% and a home that's already way high, it's just harder and harder for people to afford. And then also the buyer getting involved, because one of the things that I see that's really missing is teaching people, and you're talking about legacy, is teaching people how to build wealth. How is a home? How is that part of your wealth building? What does it mean? Because a lot of people, they want to come to the table with zero down. And
Mhm.
quite frankly, if you're not willing to put skin in the game, maybe this isn't the right time for you to buy a house, right? So I think it's kind of a three-prong effect. And I have not been able to get involved at a really deep level, but I have been in several committee meetings and several task forces, and all three of these pieces are things that we talk about as that goes. There's a really cool townhome community in the north part of Mount Pleasant that has done really well, and I love what they're doing there, because where other townhomes were going for 3, 4, 500,000, these homes were still in the low twos, which made them very affordable for our police, our teachers, our firemen, those kind of things. So I think it's
That's
incredibly important.
that is, and I just forgot the first. Is Ferry is the last name on that project I believe you're
Yes.
talking about, and there's another project coming actually in West
Yep.
Ashley area.
Yes, sir.
So that's yeah, that's going to be great for the community. So we got to continue these conversations. So you touched on quite a few things in there. But one thing you touched on that's I think probably most important is the conversation that's needed. We got the complaint, but we're not getting past the complaint to conversation. See, we stop at the P's and don't get to the V. The
Amen.
conversation needed will change it, will bring about ideas that'll change it. See, we're not the only community that's facing this type of problem, or let me
Yeah.
phrase it, I won't call it a problem. It's not, I don't believe it's an issue that we have the ability to affect going forward. So
Yeah. I like to call it a challenge. It's a challenge.
there you go. Fair enough. Better word. Better word.
There you go.
We are, in my opinion, and if you agree, please go with it. If you don't, please let me know why. But I believe that we're probably San Diego 25, 30 years ago. And I believe that we
Oh,
are
yeah.
on a trajectory that's going to be very similar.
I think eventually when you get to the 9526 corridor, you're going to see a sign that says, "Welcome to Charleston." Well, it'll say, welcome to some other, like, Ridgeville. And then you got whatever is out there. Welcome to that city. But everybody's going to know that that's the outer band of Charleston. Oh yeah, it is. It's incredible how quickly Charleston's going. Like I said, the secret got out, and you can't go any further east. So it's either going to go up north towards Myrtle Beach, Georgetown area, or you're going to continue to grow south. But I think when I started in real estate 18 years plus ago, somebody said to me, "Monk's Corner 10 years from now, you won't recognize it." And I thought, get on. You don't know. That's going to stay a small town. I was in Monk's Corner downtown the other day because we moved from Charleston County to Berkeley County. So I went down there to deal with a license tag. I could not believe it because I don't go to Monk's Corner that often. Beautiful little town, unbelievable how much it had grown. I was like, oh my goodness! I'm going down 52, and there's just neighborhood after neighborhood being built. So
Yeah.
people are coming, and Volvo, of course, Boeing was one of the big changes, and we've had other with our military and all those things. But you get Boeing, and then now you get Volvo. I mean, Charleston it's growing like crazy. So yeah, I think affordable housing. I remember when I first got in the business, somebody said jokingly, you put somebody in a car at the beach and you drive inland until they say, okay, I can afford this. And so, obviously, as you closer you get to the beach, the more expensive. But I love that we are growing out into the Ridgeville and past Somerville and that area because you can get much more home for the money. Now, what that causes obviously is a lot of traffic because being bedroom communities, then all those folks have to come down 26. So I'm excited about, you remember our mayor from Hanahan, Christy Rainwater, she said that one of the things they're very excited about is the railways, the
Yeah.
mass commuting. That's going to be critical, is the infrastructure. I see a lot of times towns will build homes and then build the schools and the infrastructure to support them. And I love that they're looking ahead and saying, hey, we're growing out that way. We have to build the infrastructure to get those folks into their jobs and help support their families. So, but yeah, I couldn't be more proud of living in Charleston everywhere we go. Even San Diego, when we were there, when you tell somebody I live in Charleston, they're like, oh, wow, what a place.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we are very blessed, Corwin. We are very blessed.
That's one of the things that has changed, since we've been in the industry that I've noticed anyway, is that there's better planning taking place. Meaning, okay, we want to develop this area. Okay, well, look, let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about schools. Let's talk about commercial. Let's plan
Right.
out this community so that it doesn't become like a lot of areas in town. It just kind of sprawls.
Yeah.
You don't have a good effect. I mean, you think about even like some of our communities have changed. It's amazing to me that we still have some areas of town that are quote unquote food deserts, that there's not
Yeah.
a grocer within reasonable proximity to serve those residents. And those areas that have that shortage, that desert, if you will, they are
Yeah.
some of the most underserved communities in our quote unquote
Amen.
in our region. And to be
Yes.
blunt about it, that's unacceptable. We got to figure out, and our leaders are working on it, don't get me wrong, but it takes more than just the leaders. There has to be a community outcry as well as community partners that work
Yeah.
with community leaders. There has what you was just talking about, the three-way right there. You
Yeah.
got to get all those people together, have those conversations for change to come about. And
And
you may have
actually,
the outcry. Go ahead.
in that case, I think there's that fourth prong too, is the business owners that will own that grocery store or that food place, because there's got to be the incentive an owner of a business is not going to plan a business somewhere where they do not believe that they will make a profit, because they got to keep
Mhm,
their doors open, right? They got to pay their employees, all that
mhm.
kind of stuff, and be a safe, viable business, if you would. So, but you're right. I have heard, and that's one area I have not gotten involved in. And so, if that's something you know of, I will say, wait until after this year from doing both President, Leadership Academy, and some of the other things I'm involved in. That's something for this next year. But I do want to get involved in that because I believe everyone needs to have a place to lay their head at night. Everyone needs to be able to have some square meals on their plate in front of them, to be able to raise their kids in a safe environment. And if that's not happening somewhere, what can we do? What's that? How do we handle that challenge? I think I'm like you, a lot like you. You and I've had some really deep discussions about these kind of issues. And I think we are very equally yoked in the fact that we believe there is a solution, that a lot of times people want to call it something else. They want to label things. And instead of becoming a part of the solution, they become victims. And once you become the victim, basically what that means is, I don't have any way of changing this. And you and I are
Mhm,
looking at them going, you absolutely have
mhm.
the ability to change this, but you have to believe and you have to want. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you and I
You
have had
know,
that deep discussion many times.
this is something that we learn, John, in the real estate and association. We talk about politics and all that stuff, but we also understand that, quote unquote, if we don't have a seat at the table, if our legs are not under the table, then our butt is on the menu. You know what I'm saying? We learn that.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a modification of how we were
Yeah,
told, but that's
exactly.
the
Yeah,
reality. If your legs are not under the table, your butt is in the menu, on the menu. And that's what we want to make sure that people understand. They have to be partakers and participants in the process. Well, let me phrase that: have to be participants in the process, not just partakers of the outcome. Because that's
yeah.
what we do. We oftentimes don't want to participate, but we want to partake, and that's not working. We have to be participants in a discussion. We have to be members of the community, leaders within the community that are doing what they need to do.
And I think we both agree too that there is never going to be a complete equal outcome for every person. What we all have, though, is equal opportunity. And so we have to take that opportunity. And if somebody doesn't believe that, we have to help change the culture so that they do believe that, or that they understand, or that they see it. And so,
Mhm.
going into the community and loving on people and saying, hey, what can we do to help? But you have to run. Like, I'm not going to drag one of you, but I'll run with 1,000 of you,
There
you
you
know?
go. Woo, that's a
Yeah.
word right there.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
word. So I'm gonna say this in closing, John. I want to make sure our listeners get your contact information. But I
yeah.
had this conversation recently. So faith, mindset, action equals massive results, massive
Amen.
success. All right. So you
Yeah.
got to have faith that's going to happen. You got to have a mindset that coincides with that, because it's got to be right. All right.
Yep.
Because your physical and your spiritual got to line up. But when you put the action to that, massive change, massive results, massive success that comes from it. So, John, if you don't mind, please give our listeners your contact information. How can people get in contact with you if they need help in the Charleston market with real estate or anywhere? Because you're connected everywhere. So, how can
Well,
people contact with you?
thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. So, best way to call me or text me is my cell phone, which is 843-343-7844. And my email is simply my first initial J and then last name Stroud at Stroud Fine, Fine, homes with an S.com. So J Stroud at StroudFineHomes.com. One thing, if you don't mind me adding to what you just said at the end there, John Maxwell is one of my favorite. I listen to a lot of that. John
Mhm,
Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, all those.
mhm.
John Maxwell said, when there is hope in the future, there is action in the present. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have hope, so they don't take action to go, right? And so I love that saying is, we have to help people find hope, because once they have hope, they know they got to go. So
I'm gonna use
hope you don't
thank
mind.
you.
Yeah.
No, I love that because I'm gonna apply that somewhere
Yeah.
like right now when we stop. So right now,
There
implementation,
you go.
guys, implementation. So for our listeners, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in today. John, again, thank you so much for being a part of the Exit Strategy Radio Show.
So honored,
Family,
man. So honored.
man, look here, we appreciate you, but most importantly, we love you. To our listeners, guys, look, y'all take the words that John laid out here today. He dropped some nuggets. He dropped some word in there for you because he's a man of faith. So y'all please take that and y'all please apply that not only to your life today, but to your family and to your future on tomorrow. Guys, as I
Amen.
always say to you guys in closing, guys, we love you, we love you, we love you. And we're gonna see you guys out there in them streets.